Hey everybody, I'm Tim Wallace from Tim Wallace Soil Mix Supply, and welcome to the Soil Channel.
Every homeowner that has a lawn, like I do, has had to deal with the issue of overseeding. Maybe just a few bare spots here or there. Sometimes you've had to raise the grade through lawn leveling, and now you need to overseed. So in this video, we're going to be talking about overseeding. If you need to know more information about lawn leveling, check out this video here, all about lawn leveling. But here in this video, we're going to be talking about overseeding with a product that I think you'll find extremely useful. You can overseed with both top dressing and lawn repair mix. If you're going to overseed with top dressing, we recommend that you use a starter fertilizer along with your grass seed and of course the top dressing. With a lawn repair mix, something that you've added compost to, you don't necessarily need the starter fertilizer. You can use it, but you don't need it. But there are some times where we tell people you may want to split your project down into two different time frames, spring and fall. Tim and I both believe that the best time to overseed your lawn is in the fall. As a matter of fact, that's exactly the time we're going to be doing this overseeding project. Fall, the weather is nice and warm. The days are not quite as hot, usually have a little bit more moisture, and most specifically, the ground temperature is sufficient for grass seed to get going, to germinate, then to start to sprout up. And the best mix for overseeding probably is Tim's overseeding mix or something similar that you can make on your own. So this is the area we'll be working with today. It's not very large, but the steps and the procedures that I use here will apply whether you're doing a small area like this or a much large area of your lawn. Keep in mind that the very first thing we have to determine, we have to figure out, is the depth we'll be working with. Remember, all these top dressings we've talked about already have limitations, highest and best use, and limitations, especially when it comes to depth. So depth here is going to be critical. I'm going to be guessing, just looking at this, that I'm going to have to raise this up enough in its grade that the grass that's here is going to die out. So we will also have to deal with overseeding, and that's where the overseeding mix is going to come into play. But the first thing we're going to need to do is determine just how deep this is. So in order to do that, I think what I'll do is just lay a board across this and we'll get some measurements. Let's do that. Before we overseed, we need the lawn sitting at the right grade. It's really important not to overlook depth when you're leveling a lawn, because different depths need different materials. I mean, look at these trenches. If you throw straight topsoil into a deep trench like these and call it a day, it's going to sink, settle, wash out, and always be spongy. Worse yet, a year later, the low spot is back and you're facing an unnecessary redo. Deep areas need a stable foundation. Fill dirt like this compacts and locks in place so the ground doesn't keep sinking every time it rains, freezes, or gets soft. Once the base is solid, then you can top it with a few inches of topsoil where the grass roots can live. Shallow spots, however, are different. If it's under about 6, maybe 8 inches, topsoil alone works great. It spreads easily, it's a good base media for both the seed and later the grass, and blends smoothly into the existing grade. Just try to compact it as you go, especially when you're working with greater depths. You can do that by walking on it using a lawn roller or a hand tamping tool. Again, for shallow spots, use topsoil only. The final step is remember to rake smooth, lightly compact it, and then do your overseeding. Whatever your lawn renovation project, and especially if you're using topsoil, you need to make sure that it looks a lot like this. This is topsoil that's been kept dry. You certainly don't want to be working with mud, but it's also been screened, which means all those great big lumps, clumps, rocks, weeds, and debris have been removed from this dirt. And then it's also pulverized, so it's nice, dry, fine particles that'll push around very, very easily. Screened, pulverized, and kept dry are critical when it comes to dirt for your lawn or even your garden project. The easiest way to do the calculation is to go to the Tim Wallace Soil Mix Supply website. Here I can pull up the product calculator and I can put in my numbers. Our length, 5 feet. Width, also 5. Our depth, make sure that that's in inches if we're doing it in inches, and do our calculation. It tells us we need 0.23 or about a quarter of a cubic yard. Now if I'm not so sure how much that is, I can get the calculator out. I know that a cubic yard of dirt weighs 2,000 pounds. I can go ahead and I can multiply that times a quarter, and it tells me that I need about 500 pounds of soil. So what I'll do is I'm going to ask Tim for a little bit more, since we're going to be doing a little bit of an experiment in addition, but I need 500 pounds of dirt, and that's what we'll ask Tim to get us loaded up with. Now I know our measurements, now we know how much to get. Let's go get some topsoil. Pulling this material out with the landscape rake made it go a lot faster. It's a lot wider. You can either use the teeth end or the flat end. I was able to pull out a lot of this dirt pretty darn fast. And one of the reasons I like to use the tarp is because when you get down to the end, you can pull the tarp and most of your material will just come right out. When it comes time to spread your top dressing material, you have a few different weapons of choice. If the product is relatively light and fluffy like this topsoil we have here, you can just use a regular tine rake. You can either use the teeth side or the flat side. The problem with this rake is it's not very wide, so you're going to take a lot more passes and you don't get the leveling that you kind of want consistently over a wide area. Lawn landscape rakes like this work very, very well, as you can see pulling it out of the back of the truck. But you can use the teeth or you can use the flat side. This one happens to be 24 inches across, but you can also get them in 32 inches across, and it makes your job go a lot faster. Although I think most people, when they think of lawn leveling, like to use lawn leveling rakes. Now they are a little bit on the costly side, but they work very, very well. This is a lawn leveling rake. This wide surface right here, it's relatively heavy and allows you to push the material around, but as you do, it also allows you to get a nice even level grade throughout your area. So we're going to be using a combination of really all of these three as we move this dirt around to get ready for our overseeding. Since we're talking about lawn leveling and overseeding, you'll hear this term come up a lot, top dressing. It is both a noun and a verb. The noun part of it is the top dressing is the material you use to put on top of your lawn. The process of putting that material down is called top dressing. So you use top dressing mix to top dress your lawn. And generally when you're top dressing your lawn, you're trying to get it level. And if you want to, you can provide a media to plant grass seed. When we did our calculation, we figured we needed about 500 pounds of dirt. I asked Tim to load me with just a little bit more. I think he loaded us with about 540 pounds of dirt. And the reason for that is, in order to let you see for yourself the difference that this overseeding mix makes on topsoil when you're planting new grass, I want to do a somewhat scientific side-by-side comparison. So I want to make sure I use the same topsoil that I'm using out here for a little scientific experiment. Now I could put my grass seed right into this topsoil. However, there's a much better way to do it. And that's by using an overseeder mix like this. Tim's overseeder mix consists of 75% topsoil and 25% peat. So that's a 3-to-1 ratio. That ratio is important because of the power that is in peat. And I'll explain all the details about peat while I put this down. But we're going to put this down no more than about 1/4, maybe 3/8 of an inch. We're going to get our grass seed into this, and this is going to be what supercharges that germination and growth process that I'll prove to you in just a couple minutes. Peat helps with grass seed germination and growth primarily because of its physical and chemical properties, which create an ideal environment for seeds to sprout and young grass to thrive. So here's why and how peat is so beneficial. Peat holds water extremely well, which is crucial during germination when seeds need consistent moisture. It creates a buffer against drying out, especially in dry and windy conditions. Peat has a loose, very fibrous structure that improves soil aeration, allowing oxygen to reach developing roots. This reduces soil compaction, making it easier for the delicate roots to penetrate the soil. When used as a top dressing, peat settles nicely around the seeds, ensuring good contact with the soil, which is essential for successful germination. Peat is slightly acidic. Its pH is somewhere between 3.5 and 4.5, which can help inhibit weed growth and reduce fungal diseases early on in the germination process. Most of the grass seed types we use here in the greater Chicagoland area, like Kentucky bluegrass, fine and tall fescue, and perennial ryegrass, actually prefer slightly acidic conditions. While peat is not necessarily nutrient-rich by itself, peat will not burn seeds or leach nutrients quickly. Yes, you can use peat and a starter fertilizer or compost to provide nutrients in a very controlled way. The reason for that is that peat has a high cation exchange capacity, CEC, which allows it to retain and release the nutrients as it's needed. This means that peat can help to regulate the available nutrients in your topsoil, reducing the risk of nutrient deficiencies and excesses. All right, a little of something can be very beneficial, but when it comes to peat, too much can actually kill your lawn. It does so by creating a thick hydrophobic layer that blocks water and air. Also, it causes your soil to become way too acidic. It encourages fungal growth, it can kill the beneficial microorganisms in your soil, and even can kill beneficial things like the earthworms in your soil. Excessive application, especially in thick layers, can suffocate roots and seeds, leading to poor germination and an overall weakening of your lawn over time. So be certain that when you use peat, apply it in a thin, even layer, no more than 1/4 to maybe 1/2 inch. That'll help retain moisture and protect the seeds without suffocating them. When you apply it in large amounts, like with this, a peat roller, it's important to work it into the soil to avoid creating that problematic layer that hinders root growth and water penetration, as well as that hydrophobic layer that will certainly cause a lot of problems for you. So here it is. This is what we'll call day number 1. We've raised the grade here with topsoil. Then we've top dressed this area with the lawn overseeding mix and put the grass seed down, watered everything in, and this is the way it looks at the end of day number 1. Now, one of the reasons I use the overseeder mix is it's the first full week of October, and around here in the greater Chicagoland area, we get cold weather and sometimes frost by around Halloween. So putting this down now, I should be able to get this grass, especially by using the overseeder mix, to germinate and come up enough that I can mow it at least once, maybe twice before that cold weather sets in and the grass goes into dormancy. Now, it's going to be difficult for me to prove to you just how well this overseeder mix works just by looking at this area. That's where our little not so scientific science project comes in, our side-by-side comparison. Well, we'll take a look at how long it takes grass seed to come up in straight topsoil and how much faster and how much better it comes up with topsoil top dressed with lawn overseeding mix. Let's go take a look at that. Okay, so my little somewhat scientific experiment's going to go like this. I have my little garden cart divided in half. Over here on the left-hand side, I have 3 inches of topsoil, just like we have out front. Same material, same depth. Over here, 2.5 inches of that same topsoil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a 1/2 inch of our overseeder mix to bring it up to 3 inches. So we have a comparative 3 inches on both sides. A little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. So over here on the right, I have 2 inches of topsoil and a 1/2 inch of the overseeder mix on top of it. Over there, 3 inches of straight topsoil. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the grass seed in, cover it up and water it just like we did up front. And this will be our test kitchen. So you can see for yourself how much better the overseeder mix works than sowing grass seed in direct topsoil only. Okay, so this is the same grass seed I used up front. I'll try to get the same amount per square inch as I had out front. I'll cover it up like we did out front. And then I'll go ahead and water it. I'll water this, but I'm going to be a little more careful back here than I was up front. Biggest reason is this has the plastic bottom and nothing's going to drain out too well. So I don't want to over soak this. I'll get it nice and wet this first time and then keep it moist from this point forward. So here we are, the end of day number 1. We've got the grass seed in our little test kitchen back here. Over here on the left-hand side, straight topsoil and grass seed. Over here on the right-hand side, topsoil with the lawn overseeder mix on top, along with the grass seed, of course. Everything's watered. We're just going to leave this here in the sun, same exposure as it gets out in front, and we'll check it all regularly. I'll give you updates and along the way offer some pro tips, but we'll see side-by-side comparison how much better the overseeder mix does than the straight topsoil and grass seed. Not every lawn overseeding project requires material by the full cubic yard. I mean, sometimes you only have a couple bare spots that you want to get the grass to grow back up in again. Well, there is a way to get all the benefits of peat in a smaller setting, and let me show you how that's done. The first thing we need to do is simply just scuff up or loosen the area that we're going to be working in. Once I have the soil nice and loose, I can apply my grass seed. Once the grass seed is down, I go ahead and try to get the grass seed worked into the soil. There's 2 reasons for that. One of which is the grass seed will do much better when it's in contact with the soil. And second of all, I like to tell people that grass seed is very shy. It likes to do its germination in the dark. So this process takes care of both of those issues. The next step in the process is to apply a little bit of peat. Well, you can see how dusty this stuff is. I really don't want any more than 1/4 inch at tops. Once I've got it down, I'm going to make sure I have good seed to soil contact. Nothing scientific about this. Simply walk on it. And once that's all done, I'm simply going to water it in. So in any given situation where you have a small spot to do, but you either don't want to use peat because your soil is already too acidic and you don't want to lower it further, or it's unavailable to you, there's another thing you can do. And let me show you what that is. This time, rather than putting peat over the top of this mix, I'm going to add something called pen mulch. Pen mulch is a pelleted seeding mulch uniquely formulated to include a starter fertilizer to support quick grass seed germination. Pen mulch stores moisture, which is critical to successful germination. It holds the seed in place for a consistent establishment. Unlike straw, pen mulch contains no weed seed and breaks down over time, requiring no cleanup or raking. Pen mulch is comprised of recycled newsprint, a starter fertilizer, and moisture cell technology. Adaptable to any kind of soil, pen mulch is ideal for establishing a thicker, healthier lawn in one convenient application. When pen mulch gets wet, it expands and then it dries, holding the seed in place. This will provide an almost 100% seed germination rate, which results in a nice, quickly growing, thicker turf. So I'm out here watering on day number 4. I'm not seeing any grass pop up just yet, but I'm not really surprised. And that's because I'm well aware of what I call the dual P's, and it's something you should be aware of also. The first of which is, of course, the P of persistence. Again, our first P when it comes to overseeding is persistence. That means doing the small things over and over, even when it feels boring. Grass seed doesn't care that you meant to water, it only cares that you actually showed up and did water. After overseeding, those seeds need consistent moisture to germinate. Not a flood, not a drought, just a steady drink. Light watering 1 or 2 times a day, keeping the soil damp but not muddy, is the best way to go. Miss a few days and the seeds can dry out and die. Like tiny dreams that had so much potential. And persistence doesn't stop at watering. Keep foot traffic off the area, keep pets away, and don't cut corners on mowing too soon. Do it right and the seed will reward you. Persistence really does pay off, literally 1 drop of water at a time. And the second P in our dual P's, as it has to do with lawn overseeding, and unfortunately, you're probably not going to want to hear this, but it's patience. The second P is, of course, patience. If grass had a personality, it would be a friend who always shows up, just never on time. Perennial ryegrass is the sprinter. You'll see that popping up in maybe 9 to 12 days. Fescue likes to take its time, 12 to 14 days. And Kentucky bluegrass, well, that's the slowpoke, 14 to 21 days before it even thinks about greeting you. So don't stare at the dirt and panic. Don't call the seed company. Don't assume it failed. It's underground doing what seeds do, quietly building roots before showing off on top. And once it sprouts, it still needs time to thicken, knit together, and fill in those weak spots. Overseeding isn't instant coffee. It's more like smoking ribs. Low and slow delivers the best results. So be patient, let nature do its thing. Remember, good grass is worth the wait. When I came to get the hose to check what's going on in this area where we did our lawn leveling and repair out front, this is what I found. I have got grass sprouting up about 4 to 5 days early. Now, it's not a lot of it, but it's a beginning. So this has speeded up this germination process by, well, maybe 50%, 40%. But again, I'm really glad to see this. A little bit surprised. I shouldn't be. But nonetheless, I wanted you to see it. And of course, I'll keep track of how it progresses over the next few days. So I came back out here on day number 6. Because the grass is doing so incredibly well, it's starting to pop up really all over this bare area. And I can kind of attribute that to 2 things. One of which is I've watered every day, the persistence and patience thing, remember that. But not a lot, just enough to keep the soil moist. And keeping that soil moist, especially with this peat in there, allows that grass seed to stay moist so it can go through its germination and pop up. The second issue is I have a feeling that now that it's been more than a few days, it's day number 6, that pH in the soil because of the peat, has come down into the sweet range. So I've got my pH meter here. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what the pH of this soil has turned out to be. So my meter's been sitting for a minute, exactly like the instructions say, and we're going to try checking the pH right in the area where this grass is starting to pop up already. 6.6. Wow. We're right in the sweet spot of that pH range where grass seed does by far its very best. So when it comes to grass seed, maybe I better change the 2 P's to 3 P's. Persistence, patience, and peat. So remember, just a minute ago I said I checked this cart yesterday on day number 5 and there was nothing going on. However, this is day number 6, so a day later than out front, the grass seed here has also germinated and is starting to pop up. Take a look. And again, over here on the side where the topsoil is, I don't see any activity. And I also notice that the topsoil seems to be cracking and drying out faster than the side that has the peat in it. So I'm out here with you one last time. It's been 14 days since we started our little video repair project here in this little spot in the front yard. Remember, I raised the grade up 3 inches with topsoil, then I added a 1/2 inch or so of Tim's Overseeder mix, the peat and the topsoil. And I think the results turned out pretty darn well. And I think they're way ahead of schedule of what normally would have happened if we would have not added the peat to this mixture. I mean, all you have to do is look at our little semi-scientific science experiment here with the garden cart, and you can see over here on the right how much better the peat side did than the side that had just topsoil by itself. So again, the success I attribute to this area out front has a lot to do with the peat that I put down. Remember, there wasn't much, 75% topsoil, 25% peat. You certainly don't want to overdo it, but that peat did 2 really, really good things for this area. Certainly it helped lower the soil pH just into that sweet range so we could get that grass seed to germinate and then to start to pop up and obviously to grow. The second thing it did is it certainly kept the moisture in the soil here. There was only 1 day in the past 14 that I had any rain at all, and there were 3 days I didn't need to water because the area was moist enough. Actually, I also had 1 day where it was frost. It got down to 30 degrees here 2 days ago. To keep this area from being frost bit, I simply wet it down real well before the evening passed to make sure that everything was fine. And again, it turned out really well. If you're wondering about the 2 patch areas I did in the backyard, they're turning out real well too. The one where I added the peat here along the fence, boy, that doesn't get much sun at all this time of year, and it's still doing fine. It's just going to take a little longer, especially with the Kentucky bluegrass that's in this mixture like I have out in front. And even the area where I put down the pen mulch, grass is coming up pretty well. So again, even under some of the more adverse situations, I can say that I like the idea of adding peat to your overseeding mix. If you happen to have a question about soil for the lawn or the garden, feel free to send us that question in the comment section and Tim and I will get back to you. But we really do appreciate you watching, and make sure before you leave, you hit that subscribe button to stay current with all of our future Soil Channel videos. So on behalf of Tim Wallace Soil Mix Supply, and the Soil Channel, I'm Joe. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, grow and make it a great day.